Okay, so this is a video to help you go over the review for the CBA 2. And the first problem says describe the value of the discriminant for a quadratic equation that has 2 real solutions, 1 real solution, and no real solutions. This is not multiple choice. You have to do all 3 things. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So for 2 real solutions, it has to be greater than 0, which means it has to be positive. So that's a greater than sign right there. And then for 1 real solution, your b squared minus 4ac has to be equal to 0. And then for no real solutions, your b squared minus 4ac, there's only one thing left, has to be less than 0. That means if you want to make a note to yourself to help you study for the test, this one just means greater than 0, means positive. It's really hard to write with this smart slate. Positive. And this one means negative. Number 2, at which point does the graph of f of x equals x squared minus 11x plus 30 intersect the x-axis? That means, what is your x-intercepts? Well, x-intercepts just another name for solutions, because solutions, roots, zeros, x-intercepts are all the same. So we want to know, when does x squared minus 11x plus 30 equals 0? And so you can do this by factoring it. And if I just glance at it, I can think of factors of 30, 6, and 5 that would make 11. So let's go ahead and factor it by the x game. And you put 30 up here. This looks bad. So let me go fix it here. I need to make my x bigger. How about that? Okay. So this is a times c, 30. And this is negative 11, my b. And so I can see that negative 5 times negative 6 makes 30 if multiplied, negative 11 if added. So then I have to put an x here and an x here. And then I break my negative 11x apart as negative 5x minus 6x. And then my x squared just comes down and my plus 30 comes down. And then you split the middle. Oops. I'm going to change colors to split the middle. So we're going to split the middle right here. So we're going to factor out an x and be left with divide by x, we get x. Divide this by x, we get negative 5. And then we factor out a negative 6, and we get x minus 5 again. Then now remember, and I can see already that my factors are x minus 5 and x minus 6. So, and remember, to get your solutions, you have to take your x minus 5, set it equal to 0, because that's my thing in common, x minus 5. That's one of my factors. And then add 5 to both sides. And you get x equals 5. But then we also have the other factor of what's left after we take out the x minus 5. And that would be, over here, it would be x and minus 6. So I also have to set x minus 6 equal to 0. And then to solve this, you add 6 to both sides. So x equals 6. So where does it intersect the x-axis? Well, it's going to intersect at 5, 0. And it's going to intersect at 6, 0. Okay, number 3. Find the roots, again, solutions for the quadratic equation x squared minus 5x minus 5 equals 0. So again, we just have to solve it. So if you look at this, can we use the x game again? I think -5 and +1. Or you can use the quadratic formula or complete the square, but let's just go ahead and factor it. The x game is the thing most familiar to most of you. We've been doing it the longest. So then we get +1 and -5. So we split this apart as 1x minus 5x. And the -5 comes down. This is an x. Ugh. This smart slate, you're like, for real. Okay. There. Let's see. -5. And then the x squared just comes down. And it's plus 1x, because that's +1. Okay, then we're going to split the middle. So you take out an x. And we get divide by x. You get x plus divide this by x. You get 1. And then here you can take out a -5 and get x plus 1. Okay, then the common factor is x plus 1. And what's left is x minus 5. Okay, but we got to find the root, so that means you have to solve it. So we have to take x plus 1 equal to 0. X minus 5 equals 0. You get the x by itself, you minus 1 to both sides, so x equals -1. And then here you add 5 to both sides.
Tori, Weeks, your ride is waiting for you at the front desk. Thank you.
And that's your answer. Number 4. What are the first 2 steps to solve x squared plus 4x minus 12 equals 0 by completing the square? So let's just do the first 2 steps. So, well, let's first see, we have to know if this is a perfect square or not a perfect square. So take your 4 over 2 squared. Does your c, -12, equal 4 over 2 squared? And the answer is no. So that means you have to use that step 2 where you add the constant to both sides. And then step 3 would be to find your c to make it a perfect square. But it just says do the first 2 steps. So step 1 is, does a equal 1? Yes, that's step 1. Step 2 is add the constant to both sides. So it would look like this. Let me change colors so you can see it better. You just go plus 12, and then really you're done. So step 2 is x squared plus 4x equals 12. But let's go ahead and write plus our blank, which our c is going to go there, equals -12 plus blank. And let's do step 3, just so you know how to do it for your test. So the blank here, you just divide the, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you divide the 4 by 2. 2 squared is 4. And then you add it to this side. And this should really be a plus x, shouldn't it? Can't read my own handwriting over here. There should be a plus x, 12. And so we get, the next step would be to write it like x plus 2 squared equals 16. And we're just going to, and then you'd square root both sides and set them both equal, x plus 2 equal to 4 and x plus 4 equal to negative 4. But you don't got to keep doing that because it just says the first 2 steps. Okay, number 5, simplify. So this one is one of those upside down division problems. So you got to take 120 upside down division. Now, if you want to find your groups of 2 for your variables, you would write out 10, or yeah, 10 x's, and hopefully you can see there's 5 pairs, so x to the 5th gets to come out of jail, because remember, if you have a buddy, you get to come out of jail. And there, you're going to have 5 buddies right there, and here you're also going to have 5 buddies, or there's going to be 1 left. But I'll do that here in a second. Let's do the 120 upside down division. Start with 2. Here's your prime numbers. If 2 doesn't work, you go to the next prime number. If that number doesn't work, go to the next prime number. Your next prime number would be 11, etc. So 2 goes into 120 60 times. And then 2 goes into 60 30 times. And then 2 goes into 30 15 times. And now 2 doesn't go in, so try 3. Goes in 5 times, and you stop when you get to a prime number. So all we have here is 1 set of buddies. That's it. So the 2 gets to come out with the x to the 5th. But this 2 times 3 times 5, which is 30, that's going to end up staying in. Now, how many buddies do we have in y to the 11th? Well, we're going to have 5 buddies again, so it's going to be y to the 5th. Oh, wow, that's ugly. And then what's left inside is your 2 times 3 times 5, which is 30, and then you'll actually have 1 y left over, because you're going to have 5 buddies, y. If I wrote y times y times y, which I'm not going to do, but if I wrote that out 11 times, you would have 5 buddies with 1 left over. So the 5 buddies, 5 sets of buddies, 5 pairs gets to come out, and your other y has to stay in. So that's your answer right here. Okay, the next one's perfect square. So to find your a, you take the square root of your first term. Square root of x squared is x. To find your b, you take the square root of the second term. Square root of 64 is 8. Well, this slate is something else. Okay, and then you have your formula is a plus b, a minus b. So you just plug those in. So your factors are x plus 8 and x minus 8. Page 2. Okay, the graph represents the relationship between the height of a ball and the distance it traveled after the ball was thrown. What conclusion can be drawn from the graph about the relationship? So we just kind of take a glance over here at the graph. We have height in feet and distance yards. Let's read the first thing. The ball reached a maximum height of about 60 feet after traveling a horizontal distance of 33 yards. So let's go look at 33. Well, 33 yards. 16 feet. Well, that doesn't even make sense. 33 yards is clear over here. The graph stops. Well, the graph stops, it looks at about maybe 33 yards. The ball reached a maximum height of about 13 feet after traveling a horizontal distance of approximately 14 yards. So let's go to 14. It's right about there. Go up. And it does look like about 13 feet. So this one, I think, has promise. So I'm going to put a little star by there. The ball was thrown from a height of approximately 6 feet above the ground. That looks right here. And traveled a horizontal distance of approximately 20 yards. Before it reached a maximum height. Well, the maximum height was clear back here at, it looks like 14. So that one's not really right. The ball was thrown from a height of approximately 7 feet above the ground and traveled a horizontal distance of approximately 10 yards before it reached a maximum height. And that's not right, so it's B. Its maximum height is at 13 feet at 14 yards. There's its high point. Okay. Number 8. Here's your algebra tiles. Algebraic tiles. The solutions to the equation x squared minus 4x equals 12. Oh, okay. So we need to draw a picture here. Model below using algebra tiles. The solutions to the equation x squared minus 4x equals 12. So let's minus that 12 to both sides and make it x squared minus 4x minus 12. So we actually need to figure out our factors here. So let's draw, we need an x squared tile. And then we got to figure out how to make negative 12 with negative 4x's. So really it's kind of like the x game. Let's see what we got here. So negative 4. So we got 1 and 12. Looks like it's going to be 2 and 6. So we need negative, so we need 6 negative x's shaded in. 6 is a lot. It's going to take me a little while. I'm a terrible drawer, especially with this slate. Okay, and then the other way we need 2 x's. And they can be positive, so we leave those open. We don't shade those in. Wow. And so what you would do here is then you got to draw in a whole bunch of little tiles to fill this in. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you need 12 little tiles, and they're all going to be negative because a positive times a negative is a negative. The ones on the left are positive, the ones above are negative, so a positive times a negative is negative. So all these little tiles that look horrible that I'm drawing here. So you can kind of see it's going to form a rectangle if you're a better drawer than me. And again, shade them all in. This is really ugly. Sorry about that. Some of the people in class tried to use this smart slate and they understand how hard it is to write with. Okay, so you have 12 little tiles, 6 negative x tiles, 2 positive x, and this makes an ugly, really ugly rectangle. So now in the world are my solutions. Well, my solutions are, well, my factors would be x minus 6, and if you use it, go ahead and look at this. You got x minus 6 up here. And you have, again, that's really ugly. That's minus 6. Let me erase this equation. Minus 6. And we have x plus 2. Because we got 2 1s right here. So we have x minus 6 equals 0. So our x would equal 6. And then the other one would be x plus 2 equals 0. So x would equal negative 2. So our answer to this one is x equals 6. X equals negative 2. Number 9. In the equation 4x squared minus 2x minus 12, what is the value of x when y equals 0? So you just put a 0 right here where the y is. And find x. And you know several different methods of solving. You can solve by quadratic formula. You can solve by factoring. Um, you can solve by square root method, completing the square. And again, I'm going to use the x game because I can see that negative 24, I believe there's factors that'll make negative 2. Because I took my a times my c, 4 times negative 12 is negative 24. My factors of negative 24 would be 4 and negative 6. So we got 4x squared plus 4x minus 6x minus 12. Split the middle. Factor out of 4x. And I feel like I did something wrong. Maybe some of you see it already. 4x squared plus 4x minus 12, 4 minus 6. I'm not sure what I did. I'm gonna pause the video. Actually, I'm gonna stop the video because it's already a 21-minute long video, and I'm gonna look this over a little bit more. I'm making a mistake somewhere. I can't see it right now. And I'm gonna make a part 2, and I'll come back and I'll finish number 9.